Hello, and welcome to Rambles, episode 43, I think. You'll have to excuse, I have gloves on, so when I go to turn this off, I'm gonna glove up the shot. Sorry. It took me a while to turn it on without completely getting fingertip. They're fingertipless, but they come with thumbs, which I guess it keeps my thumbs kind of warm, except that I use them to write, and you don't really want floppy thumbs when you're typing. Anyway, Rivers Rambles, yeah, so I kind of vaguely sort of had a topic, and then I just read I just read the greatest one-star review for a book I really liked ever. So I'm going to talk a little bit about enjoying things that are not good. I'm going to tell you the story of two books. I'm not naming names. They're both relatively well-known, popular books, one of which I love and one of which I hate. I read this book that I hated, and I hated it so much that it filled me with rage. It was one of those books. It was like every single page I wanted to kill people. I hated it that much. Part of it is because I hate a lot of really popular books. I hate a lot of the books that everyone loves, that like there's a shorthand where like the title of a book becomes like symbolic of like the greatest thing you've ever read. I kind of hate a lot of those books. I am the Grinch of male romance. Like most books that everyone loved, I think are ridiculous. Not, of course, the books that you love. I'm sure I like those quite a bit. Just the books that everyone else loves. Yeah. I'm obviously not going to name names because people love these books, so I'm sure they're really good books on some level that has just no bearing on my life at all because I hate them. So I read this book, this very popular book that lots of people love. And then I very shortly thereafter became friends with a guy on Goodreads, and we were exchanging emails. And I shared that I had just read this book and I hated it. But I didn't share the title. I was being kind of coy about it. And about 2 days later, I get this email from him that was like, oh, it's this book that you hate, right? And I had checked his Goodreads profile and realized that he loved this book. He had 5-starred it. It had changed his life. So I was like, I don't know. We don't really know each other well enough for me to like explain to you how much I hate this book that you loved. But we ended up exchanging emails, and I kind of did a takedown of this book where I was like, this was fucking stupid, this was stupid, this was stupid, this was stupid. This was like mind-bogglingly, I don't even understand how people did not break their Kindle when this happened because it was so stupid. And he wrote me back the greatest email that was like, I grant all of your points. I agree with all of your points. And I still love the book. And I love that because there are things that I love that are deeply, deeply problematic and terrible on a lot of levels. I am not bound by any degree of needing things to be technically unassailable before I will enjoy them. I love The West Wing beyond reason. And there are some fucking things in The West Wing. I mean, the cheesiness and there are some ridiculous things about The West Wing. And I don't care because I love it. Reviews written by people who love things and still poke fun of them are some of my favorites. Those aren't any that I'm talking about today. Today's purely on the level of just absolute, this is the worst thing I've ever read. That brings us to the book today. I really like this book. And I say that recognizing that there are a lot of factual things that are wrong with it. And it doesn't matter. For whatever reason, this book transcends my suspension of disbelief, and something about it is marvelous to me. Takes me on an adventure, and it doesn't matter how many times I've read it. I've read it multiple times, and the factual problems never started to bother. They just haven't started to bother. I mean, I've read it many times, and they just don't bother me. They just don't. And I'm usually the guy who kind of finds that pretty annoying. But something about this particular book speaks to me beyond the level of needing it to be correct. And I just read this review, and it's like the greatest 1-star review ever. And I don't read 1-star reviews of books that I enjoy. I don't read any reviews of books that I enjoy because I am far too likely to be annoyed by those reviews. I am less annoyed by reviews of my books that are critical than I am by reviews of books that I loved. You know, like, I get very protective of other people's books that touched me deeply. So I don't really read reviews enough, and I kind of lucked onto this review, and it was hilarious, and I knew immediately what book it was talking about because it's a book I've read like 50,000 times. So I knew immediately that this was the book that was being 1-starred, and it was a fantastic review, and it was all correct. There wasn't a single point that I could argue with, and I'm totally okay with it. It was a great review of a book that I love and continue to love even now because I already knew it had problems. I guess that would be if I had gone into it thinking that the book itself was unassailable, perhaps I would have been devastated by this review. But in fact, these were all points I already knew, and I just don't care. So that is my ramble for today. It is a random ramble that just kind of happened right now, and I'm feeling rambly about it. So yes, continue to love the things that you love, as long as you do so with some amount of self-reflection. That is my goal. I mean, you know, I don't love all things. And there are triggers. I would say that there are triggers for me in things. The misogyny of the West Wing is annoying to me, especially early West Wing. But I got over it because I fucking like the writing. And that's really kind of, that's what I do. So there you go. I'm just so rambly, and all morning I was like, I have nothing to ramble about, but now I have rambled, and I must get back to finishing the New Year's story. So, that's it. I will see you guys next week. Bye.